Okay, so now we're ready to ream. Now, why on earth would we ream, Curtis?
Oh gosh, why would we ream? Uh, I guess one reason, I guess there'd be a lot of reasons. If you're talking about a leg, uh, uh, the one reason for reaming is to be able to get the angle right. And then you talk about locking tapers, and I guess that's good and it's an advantage, but I don't believe that's why they started reaming seats. And this is all a guess. We don't know why they started doing what they did. But if we go back to the origin of the chair, you're looking at, well, stick chairs. And you know, a lot of those chairs, and maybe the real earlier ones, didn't have any stretchers to them, but they had elm seats and they had big, thick oak legs. You didn't need stretchers on those. Then you go forward 100 years and you come to America, we're using pine seats, we're using maple legs that are turned with deep coves in them. Those legs are flexing and jumping out. So we've got to put stretchers in to hold them together. Once you put those stretchers and hold them together, if you had straight tenons, it is impossible to put those four legs assembled up into the seat without blowing out the seat on the top side of it, because it doesn't achieve its final angle until it hits its resting place. So I think what happened, and this is all guess, I think the guy in his shop was doing that and he went, oh, I can't get my seat together because I keep blowing out the top. So if I open up the hole on the bottom, then I could do that and I could make a matching tenon to that. And maybe he used to work for the barrel maker who used tapered reamers, you know, or maybe he worked for the instrument maker who used them, because those all predated chairs. And he went and borrowed it and tapered the hole, and thus began the whole process of tapering all this stuff. Now, that's just me making up a bunch of stuff, but it makes sense. I think that's why. And so that's why you find a lot of different tapers. You know, you find these bunghole reamers that were used for barrel makers for cork, and they're up around 12 degrees. But I think if you pay attention to it, you'll see that you get on down to about 6. That works real good for wood. And there were reamers at that time that were down that far. Now, for the post.
Yeah, I've never seen a 12-degree taper on any old chair. I've looked at maybe 50 or so. They're usually down between up to 10 possibly, but usually around 8 to 6.
Right. Yeah. The bunghole reamer I have here, the old reamer from the 18th century, is 8.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is. And, but I like.
So the other advantage to tapers is that the exact diameter of the tenon and the mortise does not dictate how tight the joint is. So a tapering joint, if you compress the mortise a little bit when you drive your tenon in, it's still tight. In fact, it might help it be tight if the geometry of your two parts aren't perfect. But if you're using cylindrical joints, you have to be right on in terms of the diameter. So another advantage there to a taper.
Right. And I think there's a lot to be said with that, with Windsor chairs, and certainly post and rung chairs that were made in the mountains in these really crude shops, that a lot of these methods, like the wet dry joint without glue, is very forgiving. That tapered joint is forgiving, you know, whereas
right.
a rectangular mortise and tenon joint has to be cut in a shop that has some accuracy with a craftsman that is able to do it, because you're relying on those cheeks for glue surface. Whereas with us, we're relying on some trickery with wet dry and tapered joints and all of that, and you're allowed a little bit less accuracy with that.
Right.
And another reason for the tapered joint is you don't have to take as much wood out of your seat to get as strong a joint or as strong of a post. So just imagine that post. Just say we bored a hole at a 1/2 inch, and at the top of that seat, that post was only a 1/2 inch in diameter. That would be way too weak for that post. But that post is probably, I don't know, 13/16 or probably 3/4 right up at the top of the hole. Well, if we had a straight tenon that was 3/4, that's taking a whole lot of material out of that seat right back near that short grain of that spindle deck. So it could blow out easy. But with a tapered joint, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You know, you're adding meat back there, but yet you're getting a really strong post right down at the top of the seat. How'd that sound? Did that make sense, Elia?
Yeah, made sense to me.
Okay.
Of course, I knew what you were going to say before you said it, so it makes easy sense to me.
Yeah.
How about we cut some tenons here? Was that sound like a plan?
Yeah.